Hey everyone, welcome back to PA Street Scene and today's video. I'm so excited to finally get to share the new wrap on the R32 with you guys. This has been about a 3-week long project and it's had a lot of highs and lows during the project, but I'm glad it's finally finished. I'm going to show you the wrap here in about a second. We'll have a montage like I usually do, but I'm also going to give you an explanation afterwards as to how I did it, how it came to be, where my head kind of was, and what I'm looking to do moving forward with this project. But if you want to skip over that, you certainly can. I'm going to put a link down in the description below that'll jump you ahead kind of to the end of that where we go over kind of the bullet point version of that. And then we'll look at the car some more in depth. But so for those of you that want to skip ahead, we'll see you in a couple minutes. And for those of you that are sticking around, let's go take a look at the car. Alright, so for those of you that stuck around through the montage, thank you so much. I'm sure you're probably wondering, though, why I showed you a photo montage and not a video montage. And I promise there's going to be a video montage towards the end of this video once everyone else catches up with us. And there's a really good explanation for that, and it's quite simple. The wrap on this car is garbage. It wasn't done well, probably not to the best of my ability. It was done very haphazardly. But it suits my purposes for an experiment involving Instagram and social media in general. I'm going to try over the next 30 days to determine whether a custom paint job, a crazy livery, a wild wrap, if those things have to be installed well and with good materials in order for it to matter on platforms like Instagram. Or if the only thing that matters for someone trying to increase their engagement on social media, if the only thing that matters is that it photographs well. So that leads me to the beginning of my story. My Mark IV R32 is one of 5,000 in the US, one of only 700 approximately in the color black. It came in 4 colors, black, blue, silver, and red. It was a limited run. We only got them for 1 year, and they're pretty sought after among people in the Volkswagen community. But when I bought mine, I decided I either wanted silver or black because I wanted a neutral base to start with for when I wrapped the car, because I was planning to wrap it pretty consistently over the lifetime of this channel. And I didn't want a red engine bay sticking out or something like that crazy. Up until around Christmas of last year, my car had been covered in graffiti, a Plastidip wrap, with a video that you can watch on my channel to kind of explain what led to that. But I had that for about 1.5 years, and my Instagram engagement was pretty good with it. But I peeled it off with my dad in Baltimore in another video because I was planning to have the car rewrapped. We did it right before the holidays last year, and then I wrapped the car in Christmas lights for a little while, and then the goal was in the spring, late winter, early spring, to have it rewrapped this year and a custom one-off livery that I basically already have designed. I already have an installer lined up, but unfortunately, right around the time that was supposed to happen, the coronavirus struck.
Coronavirus!
And every plan, everything that I had kind of set in my head as my timetable for how this year was going to go went out the window. But I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. So we're going to kind of move on from that. But because of that, my car was then plain black, and I saw my Instagram engagement drop, and I started wondering why. I had kind of a suspicion as to why that would be, but I knew I needed to do something interesting to the car again for cheap. So luckily I had purchased 2 shark mouth graphics like the old bomber style airplanes from InChain Designs. If you follow InChain Designs or Street Speed 717, it's a name you're probably familiar with, and luckily for me, I live in the same town as their shop. So thank you, Curtis at InChain, for installing my shark mouths. Had a great time with them, and people seemed to react pretty well to the shark mouth on the car. However, I was still noticing that drop. People said the car looked clean. People who were active duty or veterans really liked it because of the connection with the bomber planes. I got a lot of thumbs up and a lot of cool conversations out of that. But social media just wasn't working for me as much as it had before. Around this time, I had started watching a YouTube channel in here starring Craig Lieberman. Craig Lieberman is the technical advisor, or shall I say was the technical advisor for the first 2 Fast and Furious movies, meaning he helped them decide what cars would be in it, what characters would get which cars, what parts the cars would be installed with. And kudos to Craig. For any of you that have gripes about those first 2 movies and actually any of the subsequent Fast and Furious movies, when he was involved, he really fought for them to be genuine with things they did in the movie. And unfortunately, they bucked him pretty much every corner or at every turn. So check him out. His channel's awesome. I'll put a link in the description below. He basically goes through each iconic car and a lot of the iconic scenes from those movies, kind of piece by piece behind the scenes, and tells really fun stories. He's a cool dude. But the video's not about him. The reason I bring him up is because at the time when I was watching him, one of the things he had alluded to in one of his videos was that they tried to avoid black cars, except for like the night Honda Civics with the truck scenes and some of the more iconic cars that, you know, cars like Dom's Charger, or stuff that's like really cool no matter what color you have it in. They really tried to push for colorful cars and bright paint jobs and crazy sticker packages and stuff because they draw your eye and they photograph and show up on film better, and they really draw people in to get them excited, as opposed to like a black or a gray or something that, you know, to car guys, we love those colors because they offer the most opportunity and they look cleanest, especially for people that like a more OEM plus look. But for film and photos, they just don't do it. So that had kind of confirmed, I apologize, it's super humid and it's raining outside, but this had kind of confirmed my suspicion that the car being black, even with the shark mouth on it, just wasn't as exciting as the graffiti or other things I had done, and that's why people weren't really paying attention. So unfortunately, it was at the end of the season and I didn't have really a lot of choices or the finances right now because we're still in the middle of the pandemic. Hopefully we're at the end. And I really needed something that was going to excite people and get more people looking at the car and my channel and my Instagram and things like that. I had started because my day job, one of my duties is social media for the company I work for. So I had started in my free time taking online YouTube classes about how the algorithms work and things, you know, the do's and don'ts of Instagram and YouTube and things like that. And one of the things that caught my attention was the use of the color blue. They really tried to put it into your brain and kind of pound it in that the use of the color blue is going to increase your engagements. Posts that have the color blue in them seem to do much better than pretty much any other color out there, mostly because it's one of the most popular, if not the most popular color on Earth. People love blue. So while I was trying to come up with ideas on how to change the car up, I found a gentleman on Facebook Marketplace who was actually selling my favorite standby. I think you guys already know what I'm going to say. He was selling a crate of Plastidip. Now, it was about 17 cans, if I remember correctly, and it was all of these 3 colors: Jet Gray, Patriot Blue, and Classic Muscle 1950s Aqua. Now, these are a very unusual color combination, and I was looking at it and trying to figure out what I would do with it, and then it hit me. Camouflage. Like an urban style camouflage. And so I contacted him. And he was selling the entire kit, the 17 or however many cans, for $30 for the whole thing. And for anyone who's ever worked with Plastidip before, it is expensive. A single can can set you back at least $8 to $10, depending on the company that makes it, the color, the finish, things like that. So this was a huge amount of cans. Some of the cans actually oversized when compared to normal cans, so you were actually getting even more value. But I decided to message him and check because I thought I could probably do something with these colors. So I contacted him and he decided to drop the price down to $20 if I was willing to come and get it today. Obviously I said, hell yeah, when can I be there? So I went that night, picked it up, got all the cans, and brought them home. Camouflage, urban camo just seemed like the perfect choice with these colors. It's not a color combo I would have picked, but I figured we could make it work, especially for something temporary. At first I was inspired by a picture of a Ford Focus with really clean lines and a very intricate design. And I had started working on that with thin painter's tape, but I realized very quickly that taping off all those shapes and everything was going to be way too much work. Obviously that car in the photo was either professionally painted over a long period of time, or more than likely it was a wrap that was most likely printed. So for the sake of what I was doing, it just wasn't going to work. So I decided to take all the tape off, let the car sit, and kind of regroup. After I regrouped, I started thinking about Instagram and how I keep seeing these amazing wraps and liveries and stuff. But because Instagram, you're typically only seeing an image that's 2 inches by 2 inches, it dawned on me, does it really matter how well the work is executed if you're only ever going to see it in a photo? Now granted, I go to a lot of car events, meets, shows, things like that, so people are going to see this car in person. But for the sake of my experiment over the next 30 days, I wanted to see if the car being a bit more exciting and a bit more colorful, and luckily enough, utilizing the color blue, I wanted to see how that would affect the engagement for the channel. So I came back the next day and decided I was going to do the camouflage in a more feathered rattle can kind of look, just kind of freeform. And I had been inspired by this picture of a Mark IV GTI that I had seen a couple years ago on a forum, back when people used forums, and I had remembered it, found the photo again, and really loved the contrast of the glossy rattle can versus the satin and matte finishes. So I came back, sprayed it on. Unfortunately, Plastidip is notorious for overspray, so I decided to start wiping it off, the overspray off, with a microfiber cloth, which is usually all it takes because Plastidip dries in the air and it creates like a powder or a dust. So usually it doesn't take a lot of effort. But unfortunately, I was trying to wipe that off and it kept catching the edges of the color spots on the car where I had been putting the camouflage. So I got frustrated again, let it sit for a little while, and then came up with a solution within a couple days to come back, finish wiping all the edges as close to the color as I could, and then using black glossy pinstripe tape to kind of clean up the edges and make them look more crisp. So that's where the car is right now as it sits. This is the part of the video where our people that click the link below are joining us again. Welcome back. It's been about a second for you. It's been a couple minutes for us. But basically, just to summarize, the wrap on the car does not look good right now. I did it very haphazardly. I'm not a professional. Plastidip is not a super easy material to work with when you're trying to do artistic things with it. So the car is covered in runs. The outlining on the camouflage, while it's sealing in the edges, when you get real close up on it, not the best thing to look at. But I think the car will photograph very well for the next 30 days, which is what's important, because the experiment that I'm proposing is to take a picture of this car, at least one photo, every day for the next 30 days. And then at the end of that 30 days, I am going to do a follow-up video where I compare those 30 days worth of images to the most recent 30 days or 30 images of the car when it was black with the shark mouth, and also the most recent 30 images of the car when it was covered in graffiti. And I want to see if this cheap, crappy design that I did on the car increases my engagement, just for the sake of the fun of it and just to see if you can, because there's such a small percentage of people that will ever actually see this car in person, because I believe the statistic was something along the lines of around 1.7 million people use Instagram in the US. So think about how many people that leaves who will never see this car in person but might stumble upon the picture on Instagram, you know, in a box that's 2 inches by 2 inches if they're lucky. So we're gonna see if having an interesting looking car with some fun colors on it for 30 days in situations where it photographs well is going to increase my Instagram, and I'll be interested to see what the results are. If you see me out and about, I'm going to direct you to watch this video so you kind of understand why it doesn't look so great up close. But more so than anything, I'm going to have a really good time with it. This month is September. Coming up, we have Dubs on the Boards in Wildwood, New Jersey, and also H2O in Ocean City, Maryland, which I'm so excited for. It's going to be crazy to see how that goes. especially after how chaotic it was last year. But I'm going to make the trip down with my dad and my brothers, and we're going to have a good time. So the car's going to have lots of exposure, but more so than anything is just those 30 days worth of photos. Last but not least, before I go, I want to give a big shout out to you for watching the video and supporting my channel, whether you watch the whole way through or if you push the button to jump ahead. The car is probably more runs than not, but from a distance it looks great, so I think it's going to suit the experiment well. Finally, a big shout out to Slow Sally's Stickers and Things in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. They did all the vinyl for the windshield, the rear windscreen, the sides, and also the blocks and the numbers on the side that give it kind of more of a WRC rally kind of a look, and kind of are a teaser for the direction I'm looking to take this car. So big shout out to Michelle at Slow Sally's, and I'll see you guys around. If you don't see me before then, because you're not subscribed to the channel yet, which you should be, subscribe below. I'll see you hopefully in a month, and we'll take a look at the results. So until then, take care and be kind to each other.